They just want to get off into the woods and put on some costumes and stage fake pagan rituals in front of a lake and a giant stone owl that talks to them and have a mock human sacrifice. But there's nothing funny going on here. So it's a mock human sacrifice. Probably. No, we'll assume that it is. Even they couldn't get away with that, could they? The more important part of that to me isn't the robed rituals, but the lakeside talks.
Maybe let's start with the Bohemian Club.
Okay, so I'm glad you said Bohemian Club instead of Bohemian Grove. Everybody talks about Bohemian Grove. That's just the place where the Bohemian Club meets. So, because that's where you see them. Bohemian Club is a rich man's club. Okay, you have to be. I guess you could be poor, and that they let you in because it is a secret society, which means that it's selective of its membership. So, and here again, we need a definition, perhaps. Secret society. Does that mean nobody knows about it? No, everybody knows about the Freemasons. Okay, they're a society with secrets. But a secret society, the secret part is usually what goes on within the organization. Its tenets, its practices, its internal beliefs. Usually not the existence of it. So the Bohemian Club is a secret society that does not disguise its existence. It's headquartered in San Francisco. Early on, wealthy members bought a 2,700-acre plot of land north of the city, up in the redwoods, and that's where they built a summer retreat, and that's where they hold their kind of summer camp every summer for the members and guests, which are invited. So there are both the members of the club and people who are invited as guests. It is still an all-male organization. I have been told that busloads of hookers are brought in during that, but that's a story. Makes sense. But the whole idea was to get together, it was a men's club that would often try to isolate themselves, to have fun. And that's supposedly what the summer camp is all about. It's just a lot of guys. True, they may be wealthy and powerful, but nevertheless, they just want to get off into the woods and put on some costumes and stage fake pagan rituals in front of a lake and a giant stone owl that talks to them, and have a mock human sacrifice. But there's nothing funny going on here, and they have cabins with different names. It's a summer camp. That's exactly what it's like, just for older rich guys. And, weaving spiders come not here is kind of the motto, which means we're not supposed to talk. Well, supposedly it means we're not supposed to talk about business. We're trying to get away from business. We're important people. We have weighty decisions to make. And we want to come out to the woods and we want to have fun. And we don't want to have to do it. But, you're never going to escape that. You bring together businessmen, whoever it may be, people who make weighty decisions, and you can put them in all the robes you want to and stage all the skits you want, and they're still going to end up talking about business. That's just inevitable. Whether or not that's the plan, that's going to happen. So a lot of attention is focused on the cremation of care ritual, which came along pretty early. There were versions of it maybe by 1880 or so. And that's the original, people have snuck in and filmed this, and this is where people are in robes. They have a whole orchestra there. I don't know where those people come from. I don't think those are club members playing all those instruments, but there's musical accompaniment. The owl, which is supposedly built out of the same material that the Matterhorn in Disneyland is made out of, even designed by the same person, because it looks like real rock, right? And has a booming voice. So there's this, it's a whole sort of conversation between the two, and it's the cremation of care. And dull care is usually a kind of wicker effigy, which is supposed to represent, all of your dull care, all of your concerns, and all of that stupid business that you have to deal with. And we're going to open the ceremony by coming out, having guys row across the lake, place dull care at the foot of the owl, and then burning it. So it's a mock human sacrifice. Probably. No, we'll assume that it is. Even they couldn't get away with that, could they? So, but that's what draws most of the attention, because we get guys in druid-like robes and what looks like a weird, even mock human sacrifices are, well, let's face it, kind of creepy. Now, the explanation you would get from insiders is that, look, this is just play acting, and it's just a dramatic performance which is put on, and there are a whole series of plays, and every cabin is supposed to perform its own little skit as time goes on, and it's just all for fun and games. That's it. There's nothing more serious to it than that. In fact, it's the exact opposite of serious. None of it is meant to be taken seriously. Now, those of us on the outside can sometimes find that hard to believe because we just basically believe that when rich guys get together, especially in robes, that there's something funny going on. Well, there could be. I mean, here you got different explanations for it. You see what you see. The cremation of care ritual is not imaginary, it's real. It depends upon what meaning you want to apply to that. Is this something which is nefarious, or is it something which is harmless? Just kind of looks funny to outsiders. The more important part of that to me isn't the robed rituals, but the lakeside talks. So sometimes people are invited to come and give talks, which sounds suspiciously like business talks, usually on matters of policy or some kind of interest to those who are assembled. Now, supposedly these are just informative, but one guy who had a particular perspective on that was Richard Nixon. And when in the late 60s, Nixon was trying to revive his political career and was looking again to run for president in 68, he was invited to give a lakeside talk at Bohemian Grove. He was not a member of the organization, so he's invited there. But what he perceived, what Nixon perceived, was that he was being vetted for his presidential run, and he apparently passed. And he regarded that as the critical step on the renewal of his political career and his achievement of the presidency, because he was being auditioned for this role. The people who had the money to fund his campaign wanted to see what he looked and sounded like. He thought that the whole thing going on there was completely ridiculous. He had no particular sympathy for the club or anything else. But he knew, he was a politician, and he knew that important people who had money were willing to listen to him, and so he came and talked to them. And he's certainly not the first person who has done that. So that, again, besides the theatrical rituals, is probably the more important type of thing that takes place. So the Bohemian Club is full of people who are wealthy and influential, and it's not too surprising that they congregate together. Are things decided or discussed there that later go out and become part of corporate or government policy? Sure they do. But if it's not there, it's going to be somewhere else.
Might as well be in a boardroom. Same thing.
Might as well, yeah.
Without the mock human sacrifice, I guess, right? But haven't there been presidents that have actually been members, not just speakers?
Oh, Herbert Hoover was one. Calvin Coolidge might have been. I'm sure there have been others as well. I mean, I've seen various lists. I mean, remember, it's a private organization. So getting membership lists from private organizations is, they don't have to give you any information at all.
So I could, there's things like the cremation of care. I could understand wanting to let go of all your shit for a couple days. So things like that, things like Burning Man, which again is a music festival, but they set art sculptures on fire just as a symbolic kind of burning of your inhibitions and, whatever you want to let go of. So I can understand that. But isn't there also a part of it where they worship the owl as a god? It's Moloch is the name of it, right?
Well, Moloch's been attached to it, but I can't find any place in the historical Moloch where it appears as an owl. Moloch is usually a kind of brazen image where you incinerate babies. All right.
Oh,
You would sacrifice. That comes from the old Phoenician religion, which was practiced by the Israelites for a while. It was quite a fashion that way. Um, Sometimes called, I think, mistakenly the Canaanite religion, but it comes out. It was practiced in Carthage as well. It's usually a large brazen image, more commonly of a bull, and you would light a large fire, and then you would. The thing that became common in Carthage was usually to sacrifice the firstborn. Now, there was a reason for that. And not to make an excuse for it, but to try to explain what they were doing, is that life is hazardous and infant mortality was very high. Okay, so one of the things that was a truism through most of human history is that most of the children that were born would die before they reached adulthood. So the idea was that if you sacrificed the firstborn or one of the child to the god would protect the others because you're going to have numerous children. And so one would be sacrificed to gain protection for the others. So it was seen as a deal which was made, for which there was an advantage. But I don't know whether the owl shows up in different ways, but I don't see any connection between Moloch, that term which was used, and an owl. And I'm not really sure how those two things became conflated. Now, the owl is the symbol of the Bohemian Club itself. So if you go to its headquarters in San Francisco, there's a little owl on the outside of that. And here's one of the things I do find interesting. What other secret society had an owl almost identical to the one on the Bohemian Club, not the statue, as its emblem? The Bavarian Illuminati. And because the owl is the totem animal of Athena, or Minerva, the goddess of wisdom. Now, you have to be careful what you make out of that, because all owls pretty much look alike, don't they? I mean, some are bigger or smaller, but an owl is an owl is an owl, especially as it's portrayed in art. So it doesn't mean that the owl on the Bohemian Club is copied from the owl, which was the emblem of the Bavarian Illuminati, but it is interesting that they're the same and they look quite similar. But those have been used by other organizations as well.
what's up, guys? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the interview. If you got anything out of this video at all, please like the video, leave me a comment, tell me what you thought of the video, tell me who you'd like to see on the show. I really appreciate the support. It goes a long way on these platforms, as you guys know. Most importantly, I have some excellent interviews coming up in the future that I'm really, really excited about. So please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of them. But that's it. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you again soon.